All right, this week we're going over our week 4 goals and experiences over Datu formation and the apahatis, the subordinate tissues of those Datus, the secondary, and the malas, the metabolic wastes or the waste our body produce. So, in our first question, we're asked to go over the 4 levels of the pulse. So, we start with the surface pulse. Try to keep the fingers perpendicular on the tips. And then just feel the surface pulse. Then after you feel that, you're going to cut off pulsation, go deep. And then gently release. So you're still in the deep pulse to feel that consciousness, because the surface pulse is the senses. Kind of what your body's sensing, how the doshas are sensing your environment. After you feel that consciousness in the deep pulse, then you're going to come back to the surface pulse and feel how that feels after taking the deep pulse and how you experience that in your awareness. Then you're going to sink to that 2/3 part of the pulse to where the subdoshas are and get a reading on those, the gunas and whatnot. And then you're going to take your awareness to the Datus. And at this moment, as far as Datus, I'm still figuring that out. I kind of feel a little bit of what they're talking about when they tell us how to read it. But as far as gunas, not quite there yet. But over time, it'll come to me. So after you feel the Datus, just release everything, or the Datu part of the pulse. As far as what I'm experiencing in my pulse, I always feel dryness because that's what I'm experiencing right now because I'm predominantly vata. The rough skin, yes, most definitely. Or I feel the roughness in it. I do have the pitta occasionally where I have the heat because I do get skin rashes occasionally. I don't have any oil. I do feel stability. I feel covering also. And this is stuff that I feel in the surface and the subdosha pulse. I can feel liquid sometimes, depends on the time of day, in the pitta part of my pulse. I usually don't have any issue feeling my subdoshas that deal with the Agni, Samana, Vata, Pachaka Pitta, and Kleta Kapha, unless it depends on the time of day, or I'm starving, they're pulsating, or it's getting past pitta time and I haven't eaten, which happens a lot because lunch tends to just be oblivious to me. So explain why the Ayurvedic anatomical constitutes Dhatus, Apahatas, and Malas are an integral part of your personal practice. What we were told is Dhatus are the ultimate expression of Ojas. So depending on how we treat ourselves is if we're going to have that happy, blissful experience and have that clarity also and be healthy. So if we are not taking care of ourselves in all aspects, diet, routine, whatnot, we're going to notice a depletion in the tissues, which can deplete the ojas. With that being said, we're going to start noticing it in the doshas first. Usually the 7 tissues hold up because they have their own disease fighting mechanisms before disease sets in. We'll also notice it in the waste, the malas, where we'll have too much, too little, and it just won't be in balance, which of course the channels will be messed up too. So um, we have to maintain balance in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha for it to for there not to be imbalance cause or imbalance in which will afflict those imbalances and disease in the body. So the seven tissues are those pillars of whether our body are healthy or not. So in those pillars, we have to make sure that the three doshas are balanced, so the dhatus can have that or give that right or optimum production and maintenance to have ojas in the bodies. But if vata or pitta or both are out of balance, it's going to deplete our ojas. So with that, we have to make sure that we're eating wholesome, pure foods, and we're preparing them in a where our emotional state's good. We're picking them out where our emotional state's good. We're sitting down in like a nice, calm environment. So like everything, just calm. Can't always be calm, but I mean we can at least have the setting there, where it is still calm, but sometimes the environment changes from time to time because when you upset the doshas, the Agni gets upset, then you get indigestion, adjourn, which ends up having the food not processed correctly through each system. So when it gets that final stage of Ahara Ras, where Kapha has to distribute that nutritive fluid, that Ahara Ras, to each tissue, it's not that final substantial fluid that needs to get distributed to each tissue individually to end up produce ojas. So in that, the apahatis, which is usually the breast milk and menstrual fluid, which is distributed to the shukra, the very last tissue, is not what it should be. The malas that come out the end also, the byproduct, like the urine, the toxins, the ama, the sweat, the feces, they're out of balance also. There's either too little or there's too much. So they have to have a balance also. Everything has to be balanced in some way. So with that being said, that's what I have as far as the presentation, how I understand it in my personal practice. Just knowing this as an Ayurvedic counselor, when people present a certain way, I have to know how to help them out. And if it just and try to have that encouragement there that there is something that can be done in baby steps to help them out to see what's going on. And I think that's about it for today. Thank you. Have a good night. So with that being said, about the dhatus, the apahatis, and the malas being all elaborate part of the human physiology, they all have a connection to consciousness, that awareness that needs to be there. And if they're all receiving the Ahara Ras, that final nutritive product, and we are able to connect everything with consciousness, we have that ojas, and everything's in balance. it can connect with the soma in the body. That, of course, the consciousness, that unified field. Um, Also, another thing is after the dot twos have taken in that nutritive fluid, the aharas, that byproduct of the dot twos is the apahatis and the mollus that we get after receiving proper nourishment for all the dot twos. And I believe that will be it as far as that. So I just want to add that little tidbit to that.